We live in a unique time in entertainment history. Because the streaming wars rely on brand recognition and IPs with built-in audiences, whether large fan bases or cult followings, this scenario opens the door for smaller films and franchises with smaller, yet dedicated devotees to make a comeback. These streaming services have to get eyes on their apps and subscribers ASAP, so they're willing to cater to audiences no matter how small. God knows, anything new that comes out now is so utterly vapid. The chances of them generating support is slimmer than Pete Davidson on a food strike, with audiences forgetting what they've just seen before they leave the theater. Look no further than the killer clowns from outer space going on an absolute tear as of late. Merchandise, haunted houses, and even a video game on the way. I realize that we're talking about streaming platforms, but with Amazon purchasing MGM's library, you gotta believe they've got their peepers firmly fixed on how each of these markets will perform to entertain the idea of a Killer Clowns reboot or sequel exclusive to Prime. Now, yes, the flip side of the coin of heavy dependence on past classics and nostalgia does utterly stunt innovation, and that is a major problem. Furthermore, strolling down memory lane with rose-tinted glasses just might blind you to the plot holes and potholes in the pavement. I'm looking at you, Coming to America 2, Bill and Ted Face the Music, and even The Matrix Revulsion. Having said all of that, this nicely brings us to today's feature presentation. The OG Orphan assembled a nice following for itself. The original is not only a great winter horror flick, watch party coming this December on the Mind's Eye Theater, but also gives movies like Children of the Corn and Village of the Damned a run for their money with the killer kid genre. So, does its follow-up effort play it safe or make the cut? Let's see what this video's sponsor can do to keep you in suspense. Think of the power to tune out the whole world placed in your hands. Now think again, because Jabra Headsets puts that power in your ears. Listen closely. From workout earbuds to Bluetooth music headsets and office hearing devices. So, if other brands play your music sounding like a broken record, march to the beat of a different tune with Jabra. If you're an HD snob like me, you probably buy Samsung for all your major electronics. Catch up on your favorite horror classics on one of their Ultra HD TVs. Watch one of Scream Factory's Blu-rays on their 4K players. Keep up with updates from 80s horror documentary In Search of Darkness on a high-end tablet. Subscribe to your favorite YouTuber through one of their Galaxy phones. I have so many Samsung devices, I've always thought they should be paying me. Well, now they can, and you can help. If you use the link in the description for either Samsung or Jabra purchases, it'll help the channel out tremendously. With the promotional considerations accounted for, it's on with the show. The film opens on Stankonia 2007 to a car making its way through a snow-capped woodland, arriving at Arkham Asylum. It's not, but might as well be. She's already got one secret admirer watching her from the window. Turns out our late arrival is an art therapy instructor, which I was unaware was a job title. Let me just mention from the top, when you're watching this movie, don't adjust your screens because of the hazy look of the film. It's not early stages of glaucoma, but a stylistic choice by the film since this is basically a flashback and only remains while she's in the loony bin. She gets a pat down by TSA security, which should have been her first clue that this place ain't quite right. Also, there'll be no return flight for her, and the onboard Wi-Fi ain't free. The warden gives her the rundown of the grounds as she passes Hannibal Lecter's fellow inmates, when the tour is interrupted over news that Lena isn't in her room, so the alarm is sounded. Madame Guggenheim is quickly caught up to speed that not only is this missing patient their most dangerous convict, but she's also the reason the therapist even has a job since Lena made short work of her predecessor. Very encouraging. Short work, I just got that. The warden leaves Van Gogh in a dark room, for her safety of course, and the sound of the electronic deadbolt locking the door seals the room as well as her fate. she spots a familiar face innocently drawing in the background. When Da Vinci notices that what she thinks is a little girl was making a drawing of her from her window vantage point, I'm already fitting this chick for a toe tag. When she introduces herself as Lena, sharpened pencil in hand, Picasso is noticeably concerned that she too is about to get her face rearranged, along with her entrails. Just in time, security shows up to save Michelangelo, while Lena gets escorted to her room to think about what she's done, and is about to do. Rembrandt gets given the skinny about Lena's Gary Coleman disease. When they mention this 10-year-old is actually 30, it reminded me of Kirsten Dunst from Interview with the Vampire. The warden illuminates the Lady Sistine Chapel of Lena having wormed her way into a family before robbing them and ultimately removing them from the census. I've got to admit, not only does Lena proceed to cleverly escape, but she does so with style in a prison break that includes murdering and looting a pedo security guard that she seduced into opening her cell, using one of her fellow whack jobs to attack a rent-a-cop, even remembering to disable the security cameras on her way out, all in time to hitch a ride with Mona Lisa. That's gotta be some kind of record. After not bothering to check her car before leaving the wacky farm in case of stowaways, by the time the art major gets home, she deserves Lena bumping her off. She makes herself at home and gets to work on solutions for families with missing children's cases, whom happen to look like her. Hence, the Esther that we all know and loathe is born. She's seen in a playground at night, where I imagine all creepy children live, and feeds an approaching officer her cover-up about her family back in America, and oh, how relieved they are to see their baby girl. The mom is first to arrive, and Esther, peering over from behind a piano, just looks like a shark that smells blood. A slip-up on the ride back home sees her take a shot of vodka to take the edge off in the bathroom in an admittedly hysterical scene of Esther's fits of rage. As tense as the interactions are between Mother Julia Stiles and Esther, especially when Mommy Dearest attempts to remove her neck choker hiding her throat scars, it's even more awkward once she reunites with her brother. Esther's father is just happy his daughter is safe and sound. She chose her family well, instantly taking a liking to their palatial estate. Now, when she looks out the window, it's on the life that she's slipped into instead of a knife she slits into someone else. Not only does a trip to the doctors begin revealing holes in Esther's story, the fact that our homicidal Keebler elf admittedly deflects more than a politician every time she's asked probing questions, just like a politician, is raising more than an eyebrow. This being a prequel, she was naturally perfecting her act and had a few kinks to work out. It seems she's got more than the child therapist on her tail when she spots a police inspector surveying her. Arriving home, when Esther is teased by her brother's frat boy friend when he calls her Morticia, I had a hearty belly laugh at that reference. She bonds with her father over his paintings, and we get a pretty nifty origin of the black light effect from the original movie and solid subtext for this film regarding the hidden layer beneath the surface of things. She then proceeds to make a portrait of her new old father, and if you saw the first one, well, if you know, you know. While Esther's in the bathroom concealing her womanhood, Julia Stiles nearly makes a revelation of her own, reaching for the diary left in her daughter's room. When Esther arrives in time, noticeably disgruntled, her mother explains she only violated her privacy because she was looking for missing jewelry. At dinner, the inspector arrives to inform the parents that Esther's therapist is open to group discussions, which means more probing into her recent past. Esther's mask slips when the inspector notices another of her slip-ups, as well as Julia Stiles recognizing her agitated reaction to him. Oh hey, that gold watch that Mommy was looking for turns up when Esther packs it into her getaway bag that she'll be making use of now that the heat is on. Just when she's about to make her getaway, Esther catches sight of her father's midnight painting and something about his graceful skill with a brush as he breathes life into a vacant portrait and indulges his artistic expression through,
"She wants the dick!"
Okay, she'll stay. One good turn deserves a bad one when, later, her rage boils over at the sight of her parents getting busy. Hey, we've all been there. While the parents are away, the spoiled brat is at play. The son has friends over for a backyard bonfire and, this time, when he mockingly references his sister as another femme fatale, he doesn't realize Esther's behind him until she asks, "Who's Lizzie Borden?" Fortunately, one of the brothers' accommodating, see also inebriated, friends informs Esther that Lizzie Borden was a patricidal axe murderer. The tension in the confrontation between siblings is broken up by the returning inspector. Well, if Detective Nosy Pants is gonna slip into Esther's room to nab evidence of her fingerprint, she opts to slip into his car as he returns home. It's ironic that while running the prints, he confirms his suspicions that Julia Stiles has an imposter in her house, considering that he's now unwittingly the victim of a home invasion himself. Now then, as much as you can get away with discussing the first film without revealing its twist, it is at this point in the story I'm left to walk on eggshells for the remainder of this review. Landmines, in fact, in order to avoid spoilers.
What you talking about, Willis?
All I'll say is that the heart-to-heart that mother and daughter share by the fire, it's a doozy. And I don't use that word lightly, or ever. The next morning, things just seem so much more upbeat. The therapist is impressed with Esther's absorption back into the household. She's getting along famously at family gatherings. There's lingering friction between Big Brother and her, but sibling rivalry is just a phase. It's interesting seeing not just the interaction between mother and daughter, but keep in mind, as a prequel, this would have shaped Esther going forward in future undercover schemes. It doesn't take too long for the two to turn on each other, but it's Esther to first notice that the fix is in. She smells a rat. Her father, though, noticing the tension, invites her to a painting session. Just the two of them. As he's focusing on his latest art piece, Esther's definitely got eyes on his piece, but she ain't the only one watching. Mother pumps the brakes on that one. Turns out Mommy Dearest's dinner was stomach churning, but I'm sure Esther's breakfast will do the trick to clear the pipes. In a series of slip-ups that have almost cost her, it's one trip-up by Esther and the interception by an unintended Samaritan that spells her doom when she couldn't bump off the competition beforehand. With all bets off, things get desperate and we're off to the races. However, hold your horses now, because the fuzz cuts Esther's road trip short. No kid ever wants to be driven home by the popo. Once they face their parents, they get that sinking feeling like they're dead meat. It's time for a family meeting. There's a few things that need to get weeded out. The cat and mouse game that precedes makes for a pretty gripping family drama. Esther's even able to get mileage out of dear old dad's art studio, even if she overdoes it with the splatter. The family feud does much to peel back the layers of this allegedly happy home. Alas, a house divided cannot stand. While the ensuing struggle sees survivors hang in the balance, what would have been a last chance rescue is instead a last minute reveal for an unfortunate witness. The movie ends on a perfect Norman Bateman moment.
Finn.
They must have done something to the eyes of this actress, because every time she's looking into the camera or off in the distance, the sight of her glaring is unnerving. It's like an animal circling its prey with just a stare. Orphan First Kill isn't as scary as I would have hoped, but I can't lie. The storytelling here is solid and kept me guessing as to what was coming next and how it all play out. The film had an interesting dynamic that reminded me of the 90s film The Good Son. that I did not see coming, so I applaud the movie's inclusion here as a welcome addition. They had every excuse in the book to play it safe and simply rehash what came before. The same plot points, reveals, character beats. They could have gone through the motions, but instead they threw caution to the wind and upset the establishment. This movie needed another 20 minutes, and not because of poor pacing. In fact, I'd say the tempo is damn near pitch perfect since there's never a dull moment and the momentum is consistent throughout. I make an appeal for added runtime for the sake of the characters. I would have loved to have seen more dialogue between Julia Stiles and Esther to see how they play off each other. Additionally, the entitlement of the bratty son was something I would have relished if the film had dedicated more screen time to him. The privilege that he enjoys, as well as his character, represents a status that Esther clamors for, so the envy is something the movie could have played up, masked behind sibling rivalry. This prequel definitely makes for a palate cleanser compared to that Predator movie I just reviewed. As far as I'm concerned, this origin story of the Prodigal Daughter gets a winning endorsement and rousing recommendation. I've been Inkarnate reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.